I was on a magical drug for the last 2.5, 3 years called ketamine. It was amazing. Oh, what a time. I thought of amazing ideas. Great ideas. Like an Italian sleep aid called melatonin. Sorry. So dumb. You go to sleep right away with melatonin. Sorry. No prescription. Some guy just gives it to you under a bridge and kisses you on the cheek. Take one when you hit the turnpike, all right? Hey, all right, sorry.
I had an AIDS scare this year. Yeah, I did, and you're like, Pete, wow, what's going on in your life? Are you sharing needles? Are you doing heroin? Are you having tons of unprotected sex? No, Kanye told me I had AIDS. And he's a genius, so I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I better call my doctor. The guy who made College Dropout thinks I have AIDS. So I went to the doctor. I actually got checked because I was like, maybe he's right. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. So my doctor told me I don't have AIDS. I just look like I have it. So it's a completely different thing. You know what's really funny about that? AIDS is just such an old school thing. They're like, you have AIDS. It's just such a 90s, early 2000s thing to you know what I mean? John Mulaney called me and he's like, AIDS, you should spread a rumor that he has polio. Does anybody else secretly hope that Kanye pulls a Mrs. Doubtfire? I come home one day and they're like, this is the new housekeeper. And he's like, what's up, fam? Yeah, it's a really weird thing to go through. Because people try to give you advice, but even friends that are older, they're like, I don't know. He's like, it looks pretty bad, bro. I hope. Good luck. Sorry, here if you need. But no advice. No one was like, this is what you do. Everyone was like, oh, yeah. You're staying with your mom? You're in a safe spot? But people ask me weird questions. So that's the only thing I don't like. They ask you weird stuff. The other day, somebody came up to me and was like, I heard you're friends with Jack Harlow. And I am. He's a very great, talented rapper. He's a cool dude. Nice guy. So we're pals, right? And Kanye put him on his new album. Even though I've been friends with him for 2-3 years, he did it anyway. And people come up to me and they're like, how does that make you feel? Does that bother you? Does that get under your skin? And I'm like, no, he's a rapper. That's his field. That's what they do. That doesn't hurt my feelings. It would hurt my feelings if I saw Bill Burr at Sunday service. I'm like, what the fuck, Bill? He'd be like, find God, Petey, go fuck yourself. Jesus.
It's embarrassing when you're not on ketamine anymore, though. You're like, ooh. Ugh. I'm embarrassed. I was out and about like that. That's not cool, I was at funerals like that. That's fucked up, right? I was at Aretha Franklin's funeral like that. Yeah, I have to live with that, you know what I mean? She'll never know, but still, it's not the point, you know what I mean? If she was there, she would probably be like, hey, who are you and what the fuck are you doing at my funeral? I don't know. It's embarrassing. I was so high, I thought it'd be a good idea to go up to her family and go, hey, I'm just here to pay my RESPECTs. Yes. My dad, he died 9/11. I was told I had to explain that before I do these jokes because some people don't know, to which I retorted that I don't think I should say that because it will just stop the show and make things awkward. I won. I was right. When your dad dies and he works for the state or the government or whatever, I don't know, he's a fireman, whatever that is, sometimes your family gets a little bit of money. Not a lot of money, a little bit. So
we got a little bit of money. I remember my mom, you know, to make me and my sister feel better, she wanted to get us a pool with the money, right? She figured she'd get us a pool, and then, you know, like, people would want to be our friends, and they would come over and swim in it, you know, which is dark. Swim in the death pool. Yeah, like, it's a nice idea, but the sentiment, every cannonball has a weird meaning behind it. Just doing laps every day, like, is this even? Is this even? No. No, I remember my mom got us a pool, me and my sister, right? And I was like 7 when my dad died, so like, kids don't understand that shit. They don't know what's going on, right? So I remember I got the pool, and kids at school would be like, yo, you're so lucky, man. You're rich. You have a pool, you know? And I'd be like, yeah, luckily I have a pool that I fill up with tears every summer. Because that's how you know you're rich, when you can swim in your own sadness. Thank God Osama bin Laden didn't miss his alarm clock. You know why? I wouldn't have a fucking pool! I'm sorry, please come over later. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I had to stop doing hard drugs, because you can't be a drug addict in your 30s, you know? I'm not like that guy. You know that guy that could just do like 1 bump of coke, and he's like, oh, I'm so bad, you know? Or that guy who'll have like 2 beers and he'll be like, I might have diarrhea tomorrow. You're like, fuck you, dude. Doing drugs in your 20s is fine. There's an excuse, you know? You're like, I'm finding myself, you know? It's like, it's cute, you know? Do a little bump off an iPad with your friends, it's adorable. You know? Say cute things like, I'm a crispy little dolphin, you know? Or your boys are like, you know? And then one of your boys has a kid, and you're holding it, and you're like, I think I'm a drug addict. Yeah, I need some help.
Anyway, so he looks very confused, and he's like, sit down. So I do. And he goes, Louis came in and told me that you smoke weed. And I was like, yes. The rumors that you have heard ring true. And then I saw with his eyes, he kind of looked deflated, like he didn't know what to say, you know? Like, because with his eyes, he's like, I'm sorry we're having this conversation, but like, Louis told on you, and he told me to talk to you, and like, you know, personally, I don't think this is a big deal, because people used to do coke here, and I kind of think you're a pussy, actually, so I'm really sorry we're having this conversation. You know, and I read that with his eyes, and with my eyes, I said, no doubt, homie. So, you know, it was just like awkward for another second, and it was quiet. And then he goes, yeah, so I guess, you know, what you could do is, I guess, you know, because he said you smoke a lot of weed, so maybe you could just like watch the amount of weed that you smoke. And I was like, all right, I'll watch. I was like, I'll never leave it out of my sight. I was like, no problem. I'm a man of my word. And I was like, he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm sorry to have this conversation with you, but Louis brought it to my attention and said, you know, you're smoking your career away, and you smoked so much weed in the office the other day that it actually made him uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, so like, am I fired? And he was like, no. And I was like, why? And he was like, I don't know. Which again is a conversation we have yearly, on a yearly basis. Is this the year? I don't know, not yet. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I don't know. And that fucking killed me, you know? Like, I had to leave that office, like, with that, you know? Just like, Louis C.K. doesn't like you, you know? One of the best comedians, arguably, ever, you know? And especially at the time, like, it just killed me, you know? Because why am I even doing stand-up if this guy doesn't like me? You know, that's from somebody's approval you want. And I was like, this guy fucking doesn't like me because I smoke weed? That sucks, you know? And I had to, like, sit with that for, like, 5 years, you know? And then, one glorious morning, I woke up and I read Louis C.K. jerks off in front of women. And I went, yes. You know what I mean. Like, I didn't want it to happen, but if it was gonna happen to anybody, I'm glad it was him. You know, does that make sense?
Okay. My mom's like an Irish Catholic Staten Island mom. Like, she didn't tell me I was Jewish till I was 25, and that's because I found out. I did a 23andMe or Ancestry or whatever. One of my boys came back, he came back Neanderthal, and he was talking all this like weird Neanderthal shit. He was like, I'm Neanderthal. It's actually like the rarest fucking. I was like, you're still a dork. You're still a fucking stupid dork. And he was talking all this shit. I was like, I gotta get swabbed. Maybe I'm Neanderthal or something. I don't know. And it came back. I was like 50% Jewish. And I called my mom, because I was raised Catholic and, you know, all that forever. You know. And I was like, Mom, am I Jewish? And she was like, yeah.
This is the only thing I didn't like that I got out of it, which is a common misconception. I don't like that she talked all this shit on like behalf of my dick. I thought that was like super weird. She was like, yeah, it didn't work out, but like, nice dick. I thought that was really weird because like everybody was like, oh, that's what a nice girl. First of all, just take a step back. Can you imagine if I said that shit? Can you imagine if I was like, sorry, it didn't work out. Nice pussy, no! That shit wet! Woo! Good pussy, but sorry. It's ridiculous. Sit there like, ah. Yeah, this is the only thing. I didn't like it because it's just simply not true. Yeah, it's just not. She has tiny little hands. She has just very little hands. Everything's fucking huge to her. Yeah, it was a fucking joke the entire time we were down. I was like, you know, huge to you, but small to everyone else. This rocks. You know? So you ask yourself, you're like, why? Then why? If she knows this information, then why would she tell everybody what a great big penis you have, right? Why would she do that, you know? Because to the outside, you're like, wow, what a nice lady. Didn't work out, gave him a nice word, you know? Told everybody he has a nice penis, right? That's not why. She did that so that, she's a genius, remember this. She's a very smart person, okay? She did that so that every girl that sees my dick for the rest of my life is disappointed. It's genius. It's a lifetime L.
You know, it's weird when you get a stalker, because there's two parts of your brain. You know, first time you get a stalker, you're like, oh my God, this is so weird and scary. But then there's the other part of your brain that's like, I guess I'm doing well. And then you get a good look at your stalker and you're like, maybe not so well, huh? I'll never forget, I met her. She was outside my house wearing a shirt with my face on it. And it wasn't even a flattering photo. It was like blown up and warped. My eyes were all over. It was like a nightmare. It was so, it insulted me. I almost wanted to go, it was so bad. I wanted to go up to her and be like, hey, if you're ever gonna do this, like, here's 5 photos of myself that I like, okay? So, you know, I pull up, she's out there, you know, and she's a stalker, you know, so, you know, not hot, you know. That's just what you picture when you picture a stalker, you know, not hot, you know. If they were hot, they wouldn't be a stalker, you know what I mean? They'd be my girlfriend, you know what I mean? So, yeah. How much do you love me? We'll figure it out. Get up there.